Hey, my name is Ivy and welcome back to my channel. I am so sad to be filming this video, if I'm being completely honest, because this was not the video that I was hoping I was going to be filming at the end of this little exploratory journey that I have been on. But this is where we are. I'm here today to talk to you about Melt Cosmetics. I have had this vision in my head for so long about what my experience with Melt was going to be like. I loved that they had this really amazing kind of like grungy aesthetic. And I know, Colin, I'm really sorry. Queer Bones, really sorry. I'm probably using the word grungy wrong, but I'm gonna do it anyway, so just zip it, okay? Zip it. Anyway. Just kidding. I love you. Grungy aesthetic. The melt verse spoke to me. You might be wondering, okay, if it spoke to you so much, why is this your first time buying from them? Because like, hey, they've been around for a while. I don't know. It's just one of those things. Whatever. The past is the past. I never bought from them until now. I never bought from them. Not for any particular reason. In fact, I hadn't even heard anything really particularly bad about Melt from anyone until I actually had a couple of palettes come into my collection from them. And then all of a sudden I started to hear these like whispers like, oh, have fun with those shimmer shades, or good luck with that. And I was like, what? Excuse me? I thought this was like one of the peak pinnacle brands that people loved. I was into their aesthetic. I was into their packaging design. I was into the Melt thing. I was like, yeah, it's cool that they're out there doing this. Mainstream makeup brand, kind of like going a little edgier, a little gothier, a little soft goth. Cool. Just assumed that they had the products to back up this sort of legendary placement within the makeup community is what, I mean, at least that's how I sort of saw them or experienced them as a brand. I was like, they are like a top tier brand, right? Maybe not. Maybe not. Let's get into what my personal experience has been with the brand. It is very limited. I will say that I have at this point only tried 2 palettes from the brand. So the first is this GEMINI palette, which is it's in the original GEMINI palette, but the like reformulated version that came out later. This was actually sent to me by a lovely viewer and friend, Amanda. Thank you so much, Amanda, for sending this to me so that I could test out the world of Melt. So this is the GEMINI palette. I'm gonna try. I can't really bend this back all the way. That is the color story there. She is pretty. She is pretty, and you cannot deny that she is pretty. She's very pretty. So that's GEMINI. And then during the really big Melt sale that happened not too long ago, I decided I would pick up MUERTE, which is a palette that I had really had my eyes on for like a long time. So this is MUERTE. Again, gorgeous. Look at that. Like rich, deep blues, that hot red, those teals. Like give me all of that. Like, ooh, sexy palette. Yes, that is gorgeous. The skull, and then I know there's the Vita half of this, which is also, very beautiful and has like the matching skull, but in different colors. Very cool concept. And yeah, also love the packaging of GEMINI. This is beautiful. I am a sucker for flowers, and like they feel really nice to hold. They have that soft matte packaging with like really nice foil. The typography is really nice and clean. Their logo is really nice and clean. Like these are really well designed art pieces, in my opinion. I'm like happy to see these on the shelf. They look gorgeous. So you can imagine, I was like, yeah, finally gonna be a Melt girly. It is happening. And then I used them and the illusion was shattered. All of a sudden I found myself asking this question: why is Melt a relevant beauty brand? Because from what I tried, they should not be. Maybe a lot of you are gonna come for me after this video. Feel free. I'm happy. I would love to hear success stories. I used these palettes secretly at night for months now. And let me tell you, the struggle that I've had with application, with everything with these palettes has been so intense. I cannot be the only one. I just refuse to believe that I am the only person that has struggled. So I started out really pressure testing MUERTE, and I went hard on the deepest and sort of brightest shades. So like the red, the blue, the teal. I really just like wanted to see how those perform, because all of the lighter shades, especially the like lighter tans and browns in the GEMINI palette, those are not that difficult to formulate. Let's be real. The shades that are more difficult are those brighter, more pigmented shades. And if a brand can do those well, then smooth sailing, you know? So I really wanted to test out those difficult shades first. I had blending issue after blending issue. It didn't matter whether I used primer or I didn't use primer. If I used primer and then put powder over it, which, by the way, I never have to go through any of those steps with pretty much any other eyeshadow palette that I use. It doesn't matter for most palettes whether or not I use primer. It's really a decision that I make based on my preferences or based on my makeup wear time. It's not in order to use the palette that I have to use primer or I don't have to use primer for it to work. Flat out, didn't matter what I did. If it was on my eyeballs, it was just whoosh, brushing away. Like I would try to pack on color and it would just go away. I would try to brush on color and it would just go away. My eyeballs ate it up. And again, didn't matter. Didn't matter if I used primer or not, just they ate it up and it was a disaster. I ended up, every time that I used these palettes, having to add in other shades from other palettes or other singles just to save the looks. And it pains me to say that. Like, it hurts my soul because they are so pretty and they are so full of promise and they are doing a lot of things right. Like, the brand, I think, is doing a lot of things right. Like, I love that there are these more matte focused palettes, and I love that they're coming up with these really beautiful kind of gradient but dark color stories. Like, I love the melt aesthetic. But I think my friend Juliet, who I've mentioned on this channel before, mostly Matt on Instagram, put it best when she said they were innovative back in, what was it, like 2015, 2017, something like that. And then they just like stopped, pumped the brakes. They haven't reformulated. They haven't really done anything since then. Again, my experience, I know that most people are probably going to come for me because, like, again, I've tried 2 palettes, but I feel like that should be enough for me to be able to come to you and say whether or not something is working or not. And these are just so not working. Like, I'm not going to give them more of my money. I'm not going to try their newest palette, even though the color palette really appealed to me. That Bailey Sarian palette, the Fatally Yours or whatever. When they released that, I was like, oh, that looks so pretty. But no, I'm not gonna buy that. Are you kidding me? Like, thank God I didn't buy it because, like, it would just be sitting there on my shelf unused. You know, I did pressure test the mattes, and I also know that that's what people come to this brand for. People don't come to the brand for their shimmers. They come to them for the mattes. So I was like, well, the mattes are gonna be beautiful. Even if the shimmers are like, whatever, the mattes are gonna be beautiful. No, they are not. I mean, at least so far, not in my experience. It hasn't all been horrible. It's not like every single matte shade that I've used has been a nightmare, but most of the more difficult shades to work with, the ones that I bought the palettes for or got the palettes for, those have been nightmares to work with. That in and of itself was like already sad. I was like, oh wow, so the entire reason that I would reach for these is like gone. And then I tried the shimmers. Some of you warned me before I used these palettes, like, oh, well, the shimmers aren't great. It's not just that the shimmers aren't great. The shimmers are like dipping my finger into sandpaper, gritty sandpaper, and rubbing it on my eyeball. It is painful. It's a painful experience. It is not a good experience. And I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Like, come on, guys. There is no reason that this brand shouldn't be coming out with better, improved formulas in 2024. There's no reason for it. Like, this, in my opinion, whilst beautiful, whilst I love so much about it is unacceptable. And that's kind of why I wanted to make this video. I don't like to make negative videos. It's not my thing. I really don't. But I'm so perplexed. I am so confused as to why people are still like gung-ho about this brand or like excited about this brand when there's no way that these formulas are competitive in a 2024 market. There is absolutely zero way. So it's either that people are so blindsided by the beauty of the color stories and the beauty of the artwork, which I totally understand, that they're like super forgiving on everything else. But any makeup person in this community that is worth their salt knows if they've tried this, this is not up to snuff. Over the last 2 months or so, I would reach for these palettes, do a look, be really tired and like aching about it. And then the next day I would use my Bella Beauté bar palettes and be like, oh, what a breath of fresh air. Or I'd pull out my Viseart palettes and be like, oh, what a beautiful palette. Or I'll pull out something new. I just picked up this Swamp of Sorrows palette from Necromancy Cosmetica. They're a small brand. Beautiful, beautiful. This is unacceptable. So not only is this a video just to be like, what's the deal? And explain it to me. I would really love in the comments, sound off. Like, please tell me what I'm missing. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. I want to know. I am not here to be up on my high horse. I would love to be told like, well, try this, do this, X this. I will do anything. I would love to make these work for me because I do think that they're beautiful. But if I don't figure something out in the next like couple of weeks, these are definitely going to new homes. I noticed that in the last year they came out with a bunch of new things and I don't recall seeing a whole lot about them prior to that. So it felt like this is the year, this like past year that they kind of started to push a little. They clearly got a hold of the IP for Nightmare Before Christmas. So they did 2 palettes around that. That really wasn't for me. You know, I wasn't into the like scattered pans thing, but I know a lot of people were excited about that. Didn't hear anything different about those formulas than I have from any of the other palettes, so don't think that there's anything different there. And then, as I mentioned, the Fatally Yours Bailey Sarian palette looked beautiful, an all matte palette, which makes sense for the brand, but you know, again, I've just struggled so much with these that it's hard for me to imagine picking something like that up. I am all for a redemption story. Like if there's a way that I can just see my way to the end of the tunnel, I still long to be a melt girly. I long to be that person, but yeah, struggle city for me. So I'm really sad because I was hoping to do this like, is melt still relevant in 2024? And like, a resounding yes, but it's a no. At least for me, it is a no. What am I gonna do to turn this around and try and put a positive spin on it? Number one, I've heard that the lipsticks are immaculate, and I would be willing to try those, and they do look beautiful. I know that they had a recent sale where the lipsticks were like half off or something, so I should have at that point tried them out and pick them up, but I didn't. But I would definitely be interested and willing to try the lipsticks in the future. So I decided that because I was so dissatisfied with my melt experience that I would do 2 little BYOPs of my version of Gemini and my version of Muerte. So I'm just gonna insert some footage of those 2 BYOPs that I made. I will share in the description box all the information about the shades in those palettes, but it's sort of my little like make lemonade out of lemons situation. I was like so dissatisfied. I was like, yeah, but I love these color stories. So I tried to be inspired by them. That's my sort of make something sweet out of something sour. So I know this isn't the usual type of video that you get from me. A little bit of a rant, apologies, but I just wanted to get it done, make it move on. So I hope that that is okay. And if you did like this video, if you liked seeing a little bit of my salty side, then please give it a like before you leave it. I would really appreciate it. And definitely subscribe if you haven't already so you can hang out with me in future content. I would love to have you around. With that, I do hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day, whatever you are doing. And I cannot wait to see you in the next one, hopefully with a better attitude. And I will talk to you soon. Bye.